What's going on, Chad?
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here,
Awesome.
man. Once again.
Hey.
You are one of the favorite people that I like having on the podcast, just so you know.
That's very kind of you to say. I'm still questioning every time you text me and ask me about a podcast. What are we going to talk about?
I appreciate what you do so much because I can see the work that you put into it. And a lot of people don't see that. Like, I know, like, and the fact that I know you, like, I know you're putting in the work, but for the outsiders, it may not seem that way. They just think you're naturally talented. And let's not discount that you do have some talent. The ability to put in the work before the match in itself is a talent, if not anything else. But there's so much that goes into a match that I know you go through that most people don't realize. And that I appreciate.
Yeah, I have the same amount of respect for you. I mean, everybody can see everything you do because you put it out there. But on the business side of things, like every time we talk, I have an immense amount of respect for your drive, dedication. I think for somebody to be successful in life, you have to have an internal drive, and you have it. And I think you recognize that I have it. So there's a mutual respect there.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. So one thing that I want to talk to you about, because I know you practice this, and that's something that honestly I lack at is goal setting. I think we all set goals, but you know what's that saying? A goal is a dream with work boots on.
Yeah, I always say, like, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So, like, kind of coming up with the plan is the bulk of the work to being able to execute your goals and achieve your goals. Yeah,
so I want to talk to you about that because I know a lot of what you do is driven by goal setting. And like I said, I do set goals, but I don't do it to the extent that you do it, like the whole process. Like I have a goal and it's in my head and I just go get it done, right? But it's not the most efficient way to do it because most of the time I'm the only one that knows about it. And I don't have another thing that I always live by is don't worry about the process, worry about the results. So because of that, I kind of not very good at setting, like a plan, but
yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to talk to you.
Well, I mean, you're setting this up like I'm the guru, and I am still learning every step of the way. I have a lot of the answers that have worked for me, so I'll share whatever I can. But I want to pose you with a question that you can, like, think about throughout this whole episode and maybe share something with me at the end, because I want to have a discussion at the end. What do you do if you don't achieve your goals? Like, you've done all this work, you've done all this effort, you've broken it down however you see being able to achieve that goal. What do you do when you don't achieve that goal? And I just want to let both of us stew on that for the next X number of minutes while we're talking back and forth.
For those of you that don't know who you are, let me can I give them an intro?
Sure. Send it.
This is one of the best PRS shooters I know. One of the best PRS shooters in existence today and ever.
Really? There's so many good ones these days, man.
Dude. I feel
it now more
but
than
you're
ever.
One of them,
Okay.
I mean,
Agreed.
you're in the mix. That's my point, right? You're in the mix. You're in the mix for, and how do I qualify that is when you go to a match, do you stand a chance to win?
Yes, I feel like I stand a chance to win every
that's
time.
my point. That makes you one of the best. And Lanny Basham says there's I think he says 3 types of shoot. Yeah, 3 types. Speedy said there's 2. I had conflicting thoughts there, but Lanny Basham said there's the shooter that prepares to go shoot. They just go, and as long as the gun goes off, they're happy. They're enjoying their time out at the range. It's all good. The second shooter is those that prepare to shoot. They go to a match. They prepared. They've done some preparation, but as long as everything goes okay, they're happy. Maybe top 20, top 30, whatever. You prepare to win.
I've been all 3 of those shooters, just to be clear.
I think we all have.
I moved through the first 2 rather quickly, just for my own personal benefit. I put myself in the toughest situations real quick. just to make sure that I failed as quick as possible, and then I could come up with training plans. But yeah, I can see myself, as you're saying, those three types of shooters. I can see my migration through each one of those, and it's a real thing. I mean, I still see a lot of people in that first and second phase of shooters, and they're just trying to figure out how to get to that third phase of showing up to win, being ready to win.
Yeah, and I'm still those three depending on what I'm doing. For example, if I'm shooting pistols, I'm number one. I just want to go and shoot those things. It's fun. If I'm shooting PRS, I'm number two. But if I'm shooting F class, I'm the third one. So I think we can still be those shooters depending on what we're doing. Like PRS is your game. If you went and shot F class, you wouldn't probably prepare to win, but you'd prepare to do okay. But anyway, whatever. So that's that. So I know for a fact that you prepared to win, and I think that is the reason you're one of the best shooters out there. It's not by luck. Like I said, it's not that you are talented in a sense of, oh, this guy doesn't even have to practice. He's just naturally gifted shooter. I don't think that exists. At least I have never met one yet. But I don't know. What do you think?
Man, it's a pretty open-ended question. So I would say you have to have some type of natural ability. I think the people in this sport and in a lot of the high performance sports, Francis and I talk about racing quite a bit lately, having those like connections from your brain to your hands and then from your eyes into your brain, and then being able to react to it, the subtle nuances of it. There's a drummer that keeps popping up on my Instagram feed these days, and it blows me away how fast and
what's his name?
Yes,
that dude.
We all know him. Yes. Yeah. So I was just thinking about him today, and the weird thing is, like, can you imagine how many different muscle groups he has to be able to control and fire so quickly? I mean, I can't even imagine how many different muscles are in your face just to smile. Can you imagine his whole body being able to do that? That just blows me away. So that is natural talent. You have to have a certain.
Can I push back a little?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure he didn't do that the first time he sat down in front of the drums, though. So
no, but
the talent.
But I know a lot of people that play the drums, and they will never get to that level.
Well. Okay, so I'm hesitating here because I agree with you. Like 98%, maybe 99%, I agree with you. However, I've met a lot of people that I've helped that they'll say, I'll never be able to do X, right? Because they're pretty much mentally saying, no, I already hit the wall, right? And then I'll show them something. And they go, and all of a sudden that opens the floodgates to their brain, and all of a sudden, boom, they're there. You know what I mean? So, like you said, I've met a lot of people that will never get there. It's possibly because they don't have something, and it's not the ability, but some kind of knowledge that this guy has. Like Jerry Michalek, right? I saw an interview with him. People say, "Oh, he's so talented. He's the fastest shooter that's ever been, or in the world, or whatever." He keeps setting all these records. I saw, and I'm thinking, yep, this is the exception to the talented person, right? And then there was an interview where he said that he figured out a way to practice that he will not tell anyone about, because that's the key to how fast he is. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And he's like,
we're both not that smart. We just keep telling everybody everything we know. And honestly, I've thought of multiple times, and it's very selfish, obviously, but I thought about, man, let's just take a pause on the podcast for a little bit so I can get back to winning, because this is not as easy as it used to be. And I've said it many times, and I think you've said it. Maybe I got it from you. What we're doing is pretty easy. It's not like all the elements of it are not difficult. Stringing them all together definitely takes a lot of effort and time. I mean, you got to put in the time to understand everything about loading ammunition for your sport, and maybe 80% of it for PRS. And then you've got to learn your body and your rifle and weapons maintenance and all this other stuff. But I don't know, man. Sometimes I go back and think, well, what are we doing? We're having fun, number one, but also we're keeping the sport interesting by, exponentially upping the level of competition at all times. And that's fun to me, and having interactions with people at matches, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I said something that, and I've said it before, and people have took have misunderstood what I'm saying. Because, for example, like that Brian Litz interview that I did, we talk about tuners, and he's like, "Well, tell us how tuners work." And I said, "Hold up. At the end of the day, I'm a competitive shooter, right?" And he thinks because of that I can't tell him. No, because I'm a competitive shooter and I'm a member of a team, and there's people that share information with me, trusting that I'm not going to share with the world, right? I can't. There's some things I can't say because they're not mine to share. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when I say I'm a competitive shooter, that's the only reason people share stuff with me. You know what I mean? Is because we'll engage in a discussion and then we'll just dig deep and deep and deep, and all of a sudden they go, all right. Because I'll ask a question and they'll just kind of start hesitating and they go, okay, I'm going to tell you this, but you can't.
Off the record.
Off the record, right? So there's so many things that I can't say because of that. Now, if I wasn't a competitive shooter and I could just, the thing is, being a competitive shooter, I need to keep my mouth shut when I need to shut my mouth and protect other people's secrets, because once I say them, they'll stop trusting me. They'll never tell me anything again. And those people, that's a big reason that I am as successful as I am, is because I discovered things on my own. Plus, I get to have these conversations with people that trust me, right? Yeah. And because I am a competitive shooter, they share stuff with me. The minute I,
betray that trust.
Yeah, it's once I betray that trust, it's over. But yeah, there's trust me, I've thought about that too. Where when I started, I don't know, it's like going back to the beginning, knowing what you know now. If you could go back to your first PRS match, or you would destroy everyone. But it just the sport keeps advancing, and I think it's part of it. Part of the fact that you exist and your podcast exists. Miles to matches. It helps a lot of shooters, right? So the net benefit, I think, is to the sport is a positive one, and as long as I'm part of that, I'm excited about it.
I shot a match last weekend, and I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I felt like I performed really well, and I wasn't even in the top 10. And I was in a squad with 2 other top shooters that I know of, and then there was 12 other people that I had never met before, and I was blown away by how well they shot. I mean, people that literally I've never even seen their names pop up before, and maybe it's just because I don't really try to follow that stuff. But there wasn't a single mental error from any one of those people. They had no mag issues. They didn't have any wrong target engagements, like all these things that new shooters make. And, they weren't new per se. I just hadn't come across them. But it's super cool to see how seriously people are taking this sport and how they're just going home and taking all their learning opportunities and training on them. I mean, I think that there's endless opportunities for that if you're serious about it. But back to the goal side, I mean, there's 2 things that resonate with me. Well, there's 100 things, but 2 things that I try to do is think about what a SMART goal is, and then also make very educated stretch goals for myself. And these are going to be very different for everyone. But if you haven't heard of the term SMART goal, have you heard of that? It's an acronym.
No.
Okay, so it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And I really try to think in my goal setting process, I try to think about each one of those things. I think people aren't specific enough with their goals. Or if their goal is like, let's say something crazy like winning the Golden Bullet or winning the World Championship or something like that, they really don't know how to break it down. You can't have a goal that you don't have milestones that are measurable. So I think that's kind of the art of it, is breaking it down from this like gigantic goal into milestones that you can pick away at. I don't know if you kind of think about it like that.
Well, yes, but like I said, I'm not as structured as you are. You know what I mean? I'll have a goal in mind, and then I used to tell people, shooters, I said, I'll never win the nationals because that's never been my goal. And it was weird even for me to say that, because I never set the goal to win the nationals. My goal was to win Texas State Championship, because that's where I was from, and that's kind of the one that's the first match that I ever went to, and I started competing at. And for a long time, I didn't leave Texas, right? So that became my goal, is to win that. And then I won it 3 years in a row. I think I've won it 4 times so far. I think I'm the most, if not the most, one of the ones that's won it in history the most, right? But that was my goal. And then once I did that, I thought, okay, now I guess I'm better focus on nationals, you know, and that became the goal. And mentally, it switches stuff, you know. It's because I didn't prepare. I'd spent weeks and months preparing for Texas State, and then for nationals, I just show up, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't have, like I said, I don't have a structured way to follow a goal like and I need to. This is why I want to talk to you, because I've noticed you do some things. So I want to see what works for you, and I can start maybe trying that out.
Yeah. So I guess just to start off, I try to think of a way to break down my goal. If the elements of breaking down my goal are not measurable, then I can't really tell if I'm making progress towards my goal. Like my goal might be to, you know, win the finale or win the golden bullet. But if I don't break down what I'm going to do to be able to do that, and then tell if that was making progress towards my goal, there's a few episodes on our podcast, Miles to Matches, that come to mind. One of them that Francis came up with, which was EWSP, and it stands for elevation, windage, and procedural type stuff. You want to make sure that you're breaking down your match scores and where your failure points are for every match, and then going home and attacking those. Like if you're not willing to put in the time off the range, then you're not really willing to prioritize towards your goals. And I feel like a lot of people have goals, but they don't break them down and be able to come up with ways to work towards those goals outside of match day. I really like that people show up to a match wanting to win the match, but that doesn't really do anything for you. You have to break down your failure modes and then go home and train on those failure modes. I mean, how often do you hit the range when you're not going to a match, like training wise?
Often, especially when
daily.
Not daily. I used to.
I've seen you do it daily.
Well, that's my point. It depends. If I'm so, I'll reveal something that I've never revealed. I break down. I used to just go to the matches or to the range as much as possible, because it's you know where it's at, 5 minutes from my house, 1,000 yards, right? But I found out that I wasn't really gaining much from it because I was just going. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the range and I'm going to test this and test that and test, you know, just test. Well, then I realized at some point you run out of stuff to test, and all of a sudden you're tired, and now I'm forcing myself to go just to go. So I you know, Lanny Basham helped me a lot with this. And he says, you need time off. You need to do stuff where you're not thinking about shooting. Do something else for a while. And about 3 weeks before the match, that's when the training starts. And that's you know, now you're going to block that out of your schedule to go train, purposely train. And for 2 weeks you do testing. No. The first, it's 3 weeks, right? And you can do 4 weeks if you want, but the point is you do testing for 1 week. The next week you practice, and then the third week you train. So testing is exactly what that is. You know, you may test, you know, I'm going to try this barrel, that bullet, whatever you want to do. But that's for a week until you settle on something. And then the next
you have to settle. You have to cross that line. You have to draw the line somewhere.
That's the key. You have to say, this is what I'm taking. And then from there on, you train, and then you practice, or one or the other. The point is, practice is you just go out there and you shoot whatever. You know, I'm going to shoot some groups here, there. I'm going to shoot off a barricade or shoot prone or whatever. But the training, you do match-like environment. It's as if you were at the match. And then you're going to run a timer. For example, if you're doing PRS, you're going to run a timer. You're going to come up with a match program, and then you're going to go do that. And then you do that for a week. And then you go to the match. And then you follow your process, right? and that's it. You follow whatever process you came up with, and you have to come up with a process in order for you to train. And that's probably during the practice stage or session or week. You can also come up with a plan that works, right? And then when you train, you implement. That's part of training, is implementing whatever plan you have come up with and make sure it functions and you follow it and everything. Like you're scoring yourself, right?
Yeah.
But so that's what I do now. Like right now, Nationals is, in November. So I've been shooting a lot this year, but either way, when I came back from England, I put my stuff away and I just dug it out last week, and I'm going to start. I'm in the, I chamber a few barrels, and I'm in the testing process right now. But once I settle on whatever I'm taking, then I practice, and then I do training, and then I go, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fail between that practice and training phase because they go to the range intending to work on something, but they don't have it written down. They don't have a formal plan. It's even more critical with PRS because you got so many different skills. I'm not discounting F class at all. I'm just saying, like, it's not just prone. It's all these other props and positions and stuff like that. So, and it's even worse for me if I go to the range and there's other people there, or I plan to go train with someone else. If I don't show up with literally a written plan, and this goes all the way up to goals. Like if I don't show up with a written plan, then my practice day just turns to crap. It's just like a fun shooting session. Not that it shouldn't be fun, but it should be very structured, and you should accomplish the things you set out to accomplish. And let's roll that back up to goals. Let's just say I write down my goals like in black and white. So there's something about that to me that makes it permanent, makes it formal. I have a text thread with a few other guys, and on the last day of every year, we text to each other what our goals are for the next year, and that is hopefully they can help you achieve your goals, but it's also for accountability. Like if you put it in writing and share it with other people, I personally feel more accountable to other people sometimes than I do to myself, and that's pretty sad to say, but I think a lot of people have the same thing. I mean, you'll take your pet to the vet when they're sick, but you won't go get a physical checkup on yourself. I mean, how many people can say that they've done that before? I know I have. So, put it in writing and share it with your friends that you trust, that you respect, that will hold you accountable.
That is, I don't. That's what I was telling you. I have a goal, but I'm the only one that knows about them, and I don't have.
Yeah. If you're the only one that knows about them, then you can allow them to be fluid, and that's not acceptable. Right. Like your goals need to be rigid. You need to have. You need to break down your goal. Whether you share how you're breaking down your goal or not with other people is a different story. They might get kind of bored with reading all your bullet points, but if they're the right people that you're sharing with, they will reinforce your goal. They'll help you get to your goals. I think you and I are in a similar phase of life. Like we don't hang out with people that don't allow us to move towards our goals. Like we're all working together in this life, and I like to surround myself with people that lift me up, not drag me down. And the older you get, the more you learn, the more you find out who those people are. And there's a reason why we don't talk to very many people that we went to high school or college or stuff with, just because they don't support our life goals. They may be great people or whatever, but as you drift apart from people, you'll still keep in touch with people that help you support your goals in life. And this list that I'm talking about that I sent to a few select people, it's not just shooting related, by the way. It's life goals, and the top of the things on those lists, like last year or this year, was getting my pilot certificate. That has nothing to do with shooting, but honestly, the discipline that something like that requires, it bleeds over into how you interact and prioritize everything in your life. And I feel like it's that important to have those types of goals. Whenever I see somebody get laid off, lose a job, lose a family member or something like that, like I'm like, okay, what are your goals? Like you need to have goals to stay focused, to stay positive, to stay engaged in life. Like if we're not moving forward, we're complacent, we're stagnant, and that's not a good thing, in my opinion. That's just, I don't like to live like that. I like to be chasing something at all times.
It also helps you align your views pretty quickly, so, anything happens. And if you have a goal or you have an idea where you're going, it's harder for you to get distracted. by whatever. You know what I mean? And again, I don't have a very specific way to do it, but I do know where I'm going, and it's tough to get deviated from that if you already know where you're going, and anything that doesn't align with that, it's pretty easy to say no. Saying no.
Well, let's pause. Let's pause on that because, saying no is hard for me, very hard for me, because I was raised on a farm in a family of hardworking people that when something broke, you fixed it. When somebody asked for help, you helped them out. But prioritization of tasks in life are so critical. If you're not doing something to advance yourself towards your goal, then it is pulling you away from your goal in every aspect of life. And, you kind of need to break it out. And this is personally what I have to do. I have to break it out into categories like family, and then personal, and then recreational or shooting type goals. Because if I'm not careful, like, too many things and too many priorities go into one of those boxes, and then I'm not achieving the overall satisfaction that I want to have, or the overall goals that I want to have. There was definitely times in my 30s where I I didn't have a healthy balance with that, we'll say, because of my personality and because of how driven I am. I was either focusing too much on work or too much on shooting and other things, and not enough on family. And that's something that everybody else has different things pulling them in different directions. But I always go back to the thing is, if it's not a priority, if I'm not willing to make it a priority, then maybe that goal is not the goal I need to have in life right now. You said that you don't have it written down, but I guarantee that your priorities are aligned. The way that you prioritize your time are aligned with meeting your goal. You just don't have it written down like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be achieving your goals.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I have goals, and they're pretty set in my mind, but they're just not written down. And that's something that I want to start doing. I mean, I'm pretty crazy about achieving goals, or dude, I shut down a pretty big construction company because all of a sudden didn't align with my goals. And it's like, all right, that doesn't align. Now, how many people can that? Don't get me wrong. It was very tough, but at the end of the day, it's like, that's taking all my time away from family, from, I was just stressed out, high blood pressure, everything, and I thought, okay, is this where I want to be? Where's it going to be in 10 years, And I was like, well, that doesn't fit. So that needs to go. And yeah, it was tough, but now I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm glad I did, but it was a very scary time in my life, but it was what needed to be done as far as to meet my goals in life is, to spend more time with family, to kind of get more into shooting and give back to the shooting community and start my, machine shop and things of that nature, so
to be happy.
Exactly. That's the bottom line, right? Because
that's the overall goal, I guess. I mean, let's just put it out there.
And that's
to be
why,
happy and proud of what you're doing.
And that's why I think it was, like I said, I'm glad that it worked out. And the way I measure it is by how happy I am now compared to the way I was, If you eliminate, if you just don't look at the money, I'm way happier now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the thing. And all of a sudden, I don't know. I told my wife one day, I said, I read a quote that said, we were so poor that all we had was money. And it was 100% true for us.
That's sad. Yeah. That's a sad way to think about it, but yeah.
It was honestly true. And I said, we got to do something. And we did, and we're glad that we did, and we're happy that we did. Like I never had time to do anything like what I'm doing right now, because it's like you asked me, like, I can do it today. What time? I'm like, I don't care. Anytime.
Yeah. That's what I'm in the same exact position, so I understand exactly what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. And we get to talk about stuff that we are passionate about, and we're helping others, right? Yeah. And that to me is worth a lot, But yeah, man. So you structure your goals. Let me go back to what I said earlier, because I was thinking about that. You know how I said there's testing and there's practice and then there's training. Not everybody, but a lot of people, based on what they've heard me say, they think every time it's windy, I run to the range and shoot. If it's windy and it's testing week, I don't go shoot because it doesn't align with what I'm doing. You don't test on a windy day, right? But now if I already got through my testing phase and I'm in practice or training week, trust me, if it's windy, especially if it's training week, oh, dude, it's raining. How many people go, it's raining, I need to get out to the range? Nobody. But if I'm going to be shooting in England, there you go. But if I'm going to be shooting in England or anywhere for that matter, there's always a chance of rain, or there's always a chance that it can rain. And if it's training week, it sucks, trust me. But I get out there and all my stuff gets wet. But that's what's going to happen in the match. So when it does happen at the match, I'm comfortable and I'm smiling because everybody else is bitching, and I'm like, who's in the better mental state at that point? I am, so that's part of it, man. And yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. It gets easier and easier the more experience you get because you realize that there's not a lot of unknowns. Like you've went and trained in the rain, you went and trained in the snow and whatever else. Maybe not snow down in Texas, but I go out and train in the snow just to see how my gear works. I mean, I've been to matches where people's bipods have literally frozen up because in the middle of the day they get wet and then overnight, it freezes, or in the morning it's freezing, and you're like, well, what do you do with that? You got to encounter those things. You have to fail. I think failure is absolutely essential for learning. I was told in college, it stands for first attempt in learning. It just, that mindset cannot be understated. And I think you've said it many times before, if you're not winning, you're learning. People miss the opportunity to learn from failures because their mind is clouded. They get frustrated. You have to document the failures so that you can learn from them. In a match or in match mode, when you're at that top level of competition, you don't need to dwell on a failure and take it to the next stage. That's not what I'm talking about. But in those first two phases of competitors you're talking about at the beginning of the podcast, you have to fail and you have to write down and learn from every single failure. Otherwise, they will be repeated over and over and over again. I see you scribbling.
Oh yeah, I'm about to ask some real questions.
and you got to do that, as soon as possible. Fail as soon as possible. I only took one training class when I first started to get into precision rifle because I was so green. All I was shooting were gas guns, and I never even owned a bolt gun before I got into precision rifle. So wow. I needed to fail. I needed to learn. So I took a class, and it was pretty basic. It dwelled very hard on prone shooting, actually on rifle setup, which I think is critical for PRS shooting. I don't know how you feel about rifle setup, but balance point, setting your optic for you to get the proper sight picture. These are all super, super basic things, but you don't know what you don't know until you encounter it. And but then after that, I was pretty thankful to be blessed with an awareness of what a rifle felt like when it was recoiling normal, and what a small wobble zone was, and how my body felt when I was building a position. Like, I just have a decent ability to be able to assess that stuff myself. I didn't really need a lot of further training or anything like that. I think I did a ton of dry firing. I would dry fire 100 to 1 because it's free, and I would take back my failure points from the match, and then I would go and work on those. To tie this back into goals, go back from the very hierarchy, the top level part of your goal, and break it down into all elements of what you can do to achieve the goal above it, and then go one step lower all the way down, and it'll lead you to natural point of aim and a perfect trigger press. Like, it'll lead you to the elements of a good shot process. So if you work yourself from focusing on the process, which Lanny, talks about this all the time. If you're focused on the process, you're doing what is essential for success anyway, and then you're also so focused on the elements of success that you will push away all those other things that cloud your mind and your judgment under stress, so that they can't hurt you.
Yeah, Lanny's book, With Winning in Mind, you gotta You got to read that. If you haven't read it, you got to go
have to
read
live
it. And or you can listen to it. But you talked about rifle setup on my forum, on my members forum, on my website. I'm always posting, and you know what I post, all these tiny groups that I shoot, and
you don't do it as often as you actually shoot tiny groups. I know that for a fact.
Yeah,
you share
because at
share
some
like
point
1%.
Yeah, at some point it's like, at what point are they gonna get bored of me just posting these groups? But when I post, but anyway, where I'm going with this is, one of the forum members had the idea of we're starting a series very soon on my YouTube channel called "Mine is Smaller Than Yours."
I like that.
And the idea is, because that's technically what we brag about, and especially the benchers guys, they're always bragging that they have the smallest one, and of course we're talking about group size. Of course. So we decided, hey, why don't we? I said, tune your rifle the best you can. He's just getting into F-class right now, which is perfect. He just got his first F-class rifle, and I said, tune it the best you can, set it up the best you can, and then send it to me. And he did, and he sent me some loaded ammo. The minute I got it, I took the rifle how he set it up, and I shot it 1,000 yards, and I shot a 15 shot group. He sent me 20 shots, so I got 5 to get on target, and then I shot, I think, 15. It's a large enough sample to satisfy the statistics people.
Yeah.
But also it's because we shoot that in competition often, 15 shots. So he sent me that. He sent me 2 sets of ammo. He sent me 40 loaded rounds. 20 I shot the minute I got the rifle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this rifle, and I'm going to set it up the way I would set it up if it was my rifle. And I already saw so many things that are wrong with it, according to me, right? That doesn't mean it's right. It's just how I would set it up. And I have a green light to do whatever I want to do to that rifle. Sure enough, it's not a custom action. It's a Remington. It's a 40X with a aftermarket bolt and all that stuff. So right away, I started looking through it. The ignition system's not set up properly. There's so many things that I'm going to have to actually go and start machining into this thing. But that's what I would do if it was mine.
Okay.
And he's like, go ahead. And then I'm going to go and tune this rifle with my ammo and get it to shoot as good as possible. And then when I finally do the final, I'm like, this is the load. Then I'm going to shoot my load, and then that's where I'm going to shoot the remainder of his ammo to see because 2 things can happen, right? Is it just my ammo, or is it also the improvements that I made to the rifle that made it shoot better?
Right.
So that's why I want to shoot his ammo again after I make the improvements to the rifle and see how it shoots, right? But I've took people to the range and just go, move your scope that way, just a little bit forward or back. Try that, and you rest, tighten this, loosen that, all those things, and all of a sudden their groups just get drastically better. Just set up.
It's huge, and in PRS it's even bigger because you're shooting off bags, you're shooting off wobbly props, you might be using tripod rear, you got all these different variables. And, we've got an episode specifically on rifle setup because of it. That was one of the first things I learned, and I'm so thankful that I understood how to set up a rifle. I can't stand, I love doing what I do. I love building rifles. But when somebody asks me hey, can you mount my scope for me? I'm like, nope, sorry, I won't do it. Come over, I'll take a half hour, and I'll show you how to mount it, because you need to know this. Like, you need to know how to have proper eye relief so that you can build a position with natural point of aim. I think it's so critical in what we do in prone shooting and everything. One of the other things that I was taught was the NPA drill, where we would cover each other's scope up and shoot blind rounds right on target. Inevitably, once people found out what MPA was, and they were shooting better rounds, they were shooting better groups with their scopes covered up than they were when they were trying to look through their scopes and actually hit the target. Now their group might have migrated to a different spot on the paper, but that's where it naturally wanted to be in their groups. I mean, some of them were half the size. It's pretty crazy. So once people understand that, and that should hopefully be in your first 40 hours of shooting rifle or 10 hours of shooting rifle, whatever it is, once you understand that, that's a foundation, that's a building block that you can take over to everything. And it feels weird, I think, you and I talking about this, but it's so critical that people understand this. I still see it every day. People, I guarantee people are missing targets at matches because they don't understand natural point of aim. And it's not like I'm telling them they're stupid or, talking down to them. I just want to make sure that they understand how critical natural point of aim is and what it really, really means. It's like the parallax discussion. People used to think parallax is stuff in focus, right? It's bigger than that. That's a secondary effect of actually being out of parallax.
I took my machinist to the range. They're both like shooting, and but they're pretty green, right? And that's fine. I'm like, let's go to the range and let's go shoot. Like if Perfect. I go shoot, I would like, come on, let's go. Get the set up the machines, leave them running. Let's go to the range for a couple of hours, And we go, and one of them, he came from bow. He used to compete with bows, and now he's getting into PRS type stuff. And he shows up to the range, and he has this sandbag, that is like 40% filled. And he's shooting, and, it's not very consistent. And he's like, oh, my rifle's not shooting very good. And then I look over there and I see his bag. It's just kind of.
He's like squeezing the hell out of it.
Squeezing, and the ears are like empty. It's got ears, but they're empty. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna break it down here. That bag is a piece of crap. Like that needs to go. Well, but it was cheap. I understand, but it's costing you more in ammo to shoot with that thing. It's costing you so much. The cheapest thing out there.
The most expensive thing is the ammo.
Well, the most expensive thing is a cheap tool. I've learned that as well.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And that's what's happening to him. The most expensive thing he has is that rear bag, because it's costing him frustration, time, and thinking it's, confidence. Confidence is huge. If you lose your confidence, like he has no idea where the failure point is, Yeah. So, we give him a fortune cookie and boom, all of a sudden he starts shooting better, and we're just shooting prone, but just being stable. And most people don't know what stable is. And I learned that from posting on some of those shorts that I do where I'm shooting off a bipod, my air rifle, and they're going, holy crap, his crosshairs don't move. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, if you're shooting prone, they shouldn't. But most people don't realize that you can make it completely still, And it doesn't have to be still forever, but it's, and it's all about training and practicing, right? Make it still, break the shot, whatever,
Yeah. Well, can we pause there for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Have you listened to our episode on natural point of aim yet? If you haven't,
I have not.
You're going to, hopefully you'll find it interesting. So I love to separate natural point of aim into two categories: the rifle's natural point of aim, and then your interaction with the rifle as your body as a natural point of aim. And stability is not the same as having natural point of aim, and that was what I was trying to illustrate with that. You can have a reticle that doesn't move, but that doesn't mean that it's natural. Take yourself out of the equation and the prop, if it's a positional. So if you take the rifle, the prop, are you able to hold yourself in that position, and does your rifle still maintain on that position? Like your machinist, you were saying he had that thin bag. He was probably squeezing it to get it on position. Well, if you take that out of the equation, his hand, it wasn't natural. Like his rifle would have went up if he let go of it. So right. I try to tell people, like, get the rifle at its natural point of aim first, and sometimes you can just roll out of the way, look through the scope without touching the rifle. Okay, is that at its natural point of aim? Now build a position that is natural for your body, and make sure that it doesn't shift the point of aim or make your wobble zone bigger. And if you accomplish all three of those things, then you have what I say is it will hide a lot of sins. It will hide a bad trigger pull. It'll hide lack of follow through. It will mask those other failure modes. But natural point of aim to me is king. It's almost everything.
People don't realize what the rifle is going to do. What it's going to do. Once you touch off the trigger, that rifle is going to overpower you. Whatever, if you're fudging it this way or that way or whatever, it's going to go where it's going to go. And if it gets there pretty quick before the bullet leaves the barrel, mathematically, every 1,000th of an inch at 1,000 yards is 1 inch, right? So if you,
I don't know the math on it, but yeah, well, it's exaggerated for sure.
1,000 times 1,000 is 1.
Okay.
right?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So my point
But you
is,
have angles involved.
yeah, but it takes one thousandth of an inch to move it an inch. So my point is that's nothing if you're shooting at long
Exactly.
range. And if you're shooting at a 1 MOA target, technically you only have 6 inches on each side of center. That's 6 thousandths of an inch. That's the thickness of 2 human hairs. So if you just move that much, so I'm just emphasizing how it doesn't take much.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to, everything has
And you're
to be
dealing
aligned
with
perfect.
much higher recoiling weapon systems than I am. I mean, I'm shooting a 6BR with 105s, so it's a different animal to manage as well. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, but I'm shooting off of supported rest, and you're not.
Yeah, good point.
So the point is, it's still mathematically it's still not much. Is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't take much, to be off target. Let's circle back to goal setting. So can you break it down in the process? For example, goal setting happens now. What happens immediately when you do that? How do you act on that? And how do you, how do you call it a win? And at what point do you goal up? Because that's another thing that sometimes you trade up for another goal, correct?
Yeah, that doesn't happen too often to me because my expectations are really high and I use stretch goals. So you got to be very careful setting your goals. I love building checklists and crossing things off the list because that feels good, and those are like little daily goals, right? But if you set your goals too low that you're always achieving them well before your time or well before your expected deadline, your goals aren't high enough at that point. Yes, it's okay to move the goalposts and make them farther away, but that shouldn't happen very often, in my opinion. You should be setting your goals so that they're far enough out of reach that you want to strive for them. You need to actually work towards them. They shouldn't be something that happen automatically. So I don't know if that answers it.
It does, but I'll give you an example. When I was faced with the decision of shutting down Texas Barnuminiums, starting a machine shop, and just going out and shooting and helping shooters and just kind of live this life, right? Where I'm more relaxed. I enjoy what I'm doing. So I set a goal I gave myself 1 year to get the machine shop built, get a machine, learn how to use it, learn how to program it, and get caught up with orders and build a website and have the members area on the website and all that stuff so that, I could have an income.
Yeah.
Enough for us to live on, right? Not to match Texas Barnuminium's income, but at least something that we can live on and let happiness make up the rest, right?
Right.
So I gave myself a year. And the goal was start the machine shop, one machine, whatever, right? And of course, that was, to me at the time, that was huge, right? Because this has completely changed the path of my life, right? And my family's life.
Yeah.
I built the shop, got the machine, got the orders, got everything, and that only took 5 months. Right. And I thought, okay, here we go. Now we're making an income. But at the time, it seemed like a massive goal. Right. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, I'm here now. I didn't think I was going to get there that fast. So it's like, okay, now I got to level up.
Yeah.
So the goal then became a different one. And that's why it's like, okay, looks like, and it is when I changed I traded up on my goal. It was still had to do with machine shop, but now it's like, okay, if I'm going to follow this goal, I need to expand the shop. I need to order another machine. And now instead of building a shop for one machine, I built it so I can fit 5 machines.
Yeah, I think this is where a lot of people fail because they think they have to have it all figured out before they even start. I mean, I don't wait to start working on a problem until I have it all figured out. I use the 80-20 rule. If I think I have 80% of the way figured out, then I start working towards that goal. And then you're inevitably going to find things along the way. You'll have to do the litmus test of, are they contributing to your goal or are they detracting from your goal? And sometimes, you choose to do something that's fun once in a while because you need to reward yourself. I mean, I know you work so much. You get up at 5:30 in the morning, you're hitting the treadmill, you're running, trying to keep yourself mentally and physically fit, and then you're working until the sun goes down. But that's one thing that I struggle with, is rewarding myself or ever letting myself feel satisfied, because you can work your 5 months and reach your goal that you were going to work in a year, and then move that goal to something bigger and bigger. But man, we're only here for a short time, and if you don't allow yourself to feel like you accomplished something because you put something else in the way right away, I don't know. It prevents you from being happy. We'll just say it's a blessing and a curse for me. Like, I have that drive to where I can't not be pushing towards something, but it can be a curse because you always have that pull. You know, you never let yourself be satisfied.
Well, that's where Lanny Basham has been just incredible to me, in a sense of the same thing that he taught me about training. Like, do nothing about shooting, and then 3 weeks ahead start this training program, right? Boom. I apply that to life as well. It's like, okay, one of my goals is to do nothing for example, specified amount of time. For example, between Christmas and New Year's, nothing gets scheduled. Nothing gets done. And that is, we can stay home. We can go into town as a family. Doesn't matter. But that week is family time. Nothing is scheduled. Nothing gets done. Of course, I'm still thinking and things of that nature, right? But it's not, it's downtime. Same thing happens in the summer. We have another week scheduled for that. And as long as I give myself, that's 2 weeks out of the year that I scheduled to do nothing. And as long as I get that accomplished, right, that in itself gives me a sense of reward. But also I get to, spend time with family and things of that nature. So that's another goal that I'm
gonna steal that one, because I'm not good at that. So yeah, that's gonna be on my goals list for 2024.
Yeah, I had to put that in. Like, I had to schedule it in, and that's what it is now, But we live a pretty hectic life, even though most people don't realize it, and now everybody does, right? We're not unique. Everybody has a very hectic life, but I think setting goals and setting, like I said, those 2 weeks out of the year that I decided this is it. I set fishing trips with my machinists, my employees. Like, we're going on a fishing trip, so we go fishing, and that's fun. That's still, keeping them happy, right? Because if they're happy, they're motivated. They're gonna keep the machine shop up and running, where I'm talking to you or shooting or doing whatever. So it's all part of the goal. But if I'm happy, I found out that if I'm happy, they're happy, and vice versa. So,
yeah. So I have something else that I wanted to bring into this conversation about goal setting. And I think you've touched on it before. How do you feel about the fact that this is an individual sport? You're F class, I'm PRS. It's an individual sport, but your goal absolutely has relation to how other people perform. And I struggle with that personally, because I need to be able to be satisfied with my performance, even though I don't win, and know that I did everything I could. Like, I went to a match last weekend, and I didn't even come close to winning this match, but I didn't make any mistakes. So I had to find a way to let myself be okay with that. And also, I didn't really have the time to go to this match. I chose to go to this match last minute because I realized I wasn't going to meet one of my other goals, and if I did well at this match, I would probably be able to meet one of my main goals for the year, and I did not achieve that. So that's what I want to bring back, full circle. Two things. How do you justify or rectify with the fact that this is an individual sport that can have dependence on other people's performances, and then how do we reconcile with not being able to achieve a goal because of that?
So, like I said, if I do everything I set out to do, for example, training wise, practice, and if I follow my plan, I'm satisfied. I've learned to be satisfied with whatever the outcome, because I recognize going into this thing, I have very little control on the outcome.
Exactly.
But at the same time, if I fail, then I need to write down the failure point. Well, I don't write it down as this is where I failed. I write it down as I add something to my system. It's never like today I failed, whatever, because you're just reinforcing that. When it's like, okay, now I will add this to my system, and I'll give you an example. England. I went all the way to England, and I shot that match, and I had 3 sets of different ammo, and I spent the first few days identifying the good ammo for the European nationals, but I didn't have enough ammo to shoot the whole thing. So I had enough to shoot 5 out of the 6 matches. So I thought, okay, the better of the not so good ammo, I'll use that at 800 yards. It's only 15 shots. It's going to be in the morning, dead calm. I'll shoot that there. I should be able to clean that. It shoots good enough to shoot it clean at 800 yards because it's still a 10-inch target. And I always take with me, those click-it clamps where, I don't know if you're familiar with the click-it clamps, but it's a plastic enclosure. You put all your ammo in there. It takes very little room. Mm-hmm. And that's how I travel with that because it takes very little room. But I also take with me a 50-round plastic box of ammo. And when I take them out of there, seat my bullets, I put them in there. And then I put them in order of how I'm going to shoot them all day. I decided against taking that because it's just bulky and, traveling. I said, you know what? I'm going to take that out of the equation. And I'm just going to take the click-it clamps with me in my backpack. And then I'll just take them out, put them on a loading block. And then I go from there. No problem. Perfect plan. Except I didn't write down on the click-it clamps because I've never used that program before.
Right.
I didn't write down the order in which I need to shoot them. I'm like, I'll just shoot these first and these later. I forgot. And I shot the really good ammo at 800, shot the really good ammo at 900. So I'm clean. And then I get to 1,000 and I pull out the ammo and I realize, oh crap, this is not so good ammo. And I don't have very good ammo anymore. Why? How did this happen? And mentally, I didn't know why it happened. Like, been there, tired, not sleeping well, and all that. I realized it takes a toll on you. So I shot it. I didn't let that distract me. I mean, it distracted me, but once I started shooting, I'm like, okay, back to the plan, right? Just execute the plan. I dropped 5 points. Vertical. Just leaker up, leaker down, whatever. And when I went back to the house, I had the rest of the good ammo. And then I remembered why. Oh, that's right. I don't have enough ammo. That I was supposed to shoot that at 800. Okay?
Yeah.
Shoot the next day. I dropped 1 point the next day. All that to say, I lost by 1 point. And I dropped 5 because of that bad ammo. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I was pretty devastated, obviously, because it was a huge mistake. But I changed my system. And I said, okay, now I'm going, and I got some labels. And now when I'm loading my ammo or seating my bullets, the click-it clamps get a label and the order in which they are going to be shot.
Yep.
So, yes, I failed. There was a failure point because I did something I had never done. And then being overseas, lack of sleep, whatever, I failed to do the proper thing. Well, now I implemented something different. And to me, it's like, okay, at least I'm getting now a little better, So that's, I did everything I could. And it wasn't good enough because my plan failed. But that's okay. I've learned to be okay with it. And it's tough to get to that point. That one took me a few days before I was okay with it.
I have a very similar story to that, except mine worked out a little bit differently. And I don't know if I've told you this before. If I did, forgive me, but it's worth repeating here because it's so similar. It's funny. So at 2021 AG Cup, you need about 400 rounds, like 100 for practice day and then 100 for each of the 3 days, right? Well, my practice ammo was just a bunch of just mixed ammo, and I was supposed to shoot that on Friday, but instead I grabbed the wrong box because I wanted to chronograph my match ammo and get my 0 for my match ammo. So I shot about 80 rounds of my AG Cup ammo for the practice day. And I didn't notice this until I made it to day 3. Every day there's a cut. I made it to day 3, and I'm starting to load up my my bullet binders for the match, and I'm like, crap, why do I only have like 86 good rounds? This is not right. I need 100 rounds for the match. And then my eyes got huge because I looked over and I saw my practice thing and it had not been touched. I'm like, oh crap. So then I reviewed all the targets in the match and I figured out which ones were the biggest ones, and I said, I'm going to have to use this practice ammo on these targets. And by the way, AG Cup has the smallest targets out of every match we ever shoot. So I picked some 1.5 minute targets, which were the big ones, and shot the match, and ended up tying for the win with 2 other people. And now I still don't have enough ammo to shoot the shoot off, right? So I've got to go through the practice ammo, and I when I load ammo, I use a different color for every session. It might be the same charge weight for all the different matches that I shoot, but at least that loading session gets one color. So I'm like sifting through this box, and I grab 8 rounds or 10 rounds of the same color ammo. So I'm like, this is a KYL with paint on the targets. I should be able to see where I'm hitting. I'm just going to assume that these 10 rounds are the best 10 rounds I've ever made. At least I know they were made on one day, and we know how that worked out. But
those that don't know, for those that don't know, you won the AG Cup.
Yeah, but it was a shootout, so like that was the stressful part for me. I'm laying down, and once I decided that those 8 rounds or 10 rounds were going to go in my magazine, I put it out of my brain. Like they were all the same to me in my mind. So, and I was planning on going to the smallest target in the KYL. It didn't make it there. I ended up winning before that, but yeah, that was a stressful moment, and I just had to laugh. I looked over at Tom Fuller. I know you've interviewed him before on here, right?
Yeah.
And I looked over at him. I'm like, Tom, I didn't bring enough ammo. All I have is practice ammo. He's like, dude, you're shitting me right now, aren't you? You're messing with me. I said, no, let's just do this. It'll be what it'll be,
Yeah, and it worked out, and like I said, for me to have made that mistake and only lost by 1 point,
that's a win.
It is, to me. It is, and again, it took me a few days. Here's the big one. Here's why it took a few days for me to be okay with it. It's because that would have been my 3rd national championship back to back in 3 different continents. But it's okay. It wasn't meant to be, and that's it. A friend of mine won, which took a lot of the sting out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I was going to say is don't be frustrated. Don't be jealous. I'm never jealous of someone else's success, especially in the sport, knowing how hard it is. Just because someone else has success does not negate your chances or your abilities to, have the best match or the best day of your life. I've seen it so many times. People see somebody clean a stage and they're like, "Oh man, now I got to clean the stage. It's that much harder." Well, no, it has their performance has nothing to do with you on the line, on the stage, at the match, in life. Like somebody else gets a promotion, there's no reason you can't get a promotion. I mean, I love celebrating other people's successes because hopefully if I surround myself with the right people, they'll be celebrating mine someday in the very near future. So I just don't let that into my brain. It's not a factor.
That's a big one. I always made it a point to stay for the award ceremony because a lot of people take off. Oh, I didn't win. I'm going home. You know what I mean? Like the minute the match is over, if they didn't place or they didn't do good, they just, and I don't know if it happens in PRS, but I would
say it only happens when people have to get to a flight or something. Like the community is so awesome at PRS.
But I always made it a point to stay for the award ceremony because I said, when I win, it's I want them to stay. So yeah, I always celebrate somebody else's wins, and I think it's a big part of being a competitor. You have to be, when it's all said and done, you have to be able to shake the winner's hand and recognize that they won. Simple as that.
Yep, absolutely.
I talk about what happened to me, but it's not. I'm not the only one that stuff happened to. Things happen. Yeah. Another friend of mine, one of my teammates, when we showed up, he pulled out his ammo and 20 bullets had literally fell out of the brass. Literally, like he pulls out the clicker clamp, the bullets are out, and all the powder's all over, and he's like, "What the hell?" Well, here's the worst part. It was the first one he pulled out because we had shipped this ammo like 3 months in advance. So, what's the next thought? Oh crap! I wonder if the rest of it. How many more are like this? Luckily, it was the only one because had it not been the only one, he would have been in trouble because he was already pretty tight for ammo. But stuff happened. Another teammate of mine, he had a chance to win it, and there at the end, all of a sudden he started getting some weird vertigo, unexplained, and it's just, it's so tough to win that, whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's what keeps me. Yeah, that's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah, you just have to be okay with not winning. I'm gonna say for in PRS and F class and just about any shooting sport at the top level, most of the time you're not gonna win. Most of the matches you shoot, you will not win. So first of all, you need to learn how to not win. How to be okay with not winning. And just keep at it, and can't avoid winning, right? At some point.
Yeah, if you do all the right things and focus on the process and set yourself up for success, I mean, you can't avoid it. I used to say to my wife, it's an any given Sunday scenario. Like, I have the abilities, I work as hard as the other people winning these matches. One day it'll start happening. And then once you've done it, you can kind of see a pathway to it. It's kind of hard at the beginning to even imagine yourself winning. You can say you're imagining yourself winning, but it's a mindset that you don't know that you have the potential for until it actually happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, give me an example of maybe a goal that is maybe too small and how it should be properly set.
Okay. I mean, shooting related or other?
And it doesn't matter. I just, like we talked about how people set too small of a goal. Maybe something, just an example and how.
Yeah, I mean, from a PRS perspective, I mean, a goal to maybe clean a stage. I feel like anybody can clean a stage in any match. I think, if that's your only goal, to clean a stage, you're going to leave a lot on the table. I see a lot of people also making a goal to make the pro or make the finale, make the regional finale. And then I fell victim to this the first time I went to the pro finale. My goal was to make the finale. And then I went to the finale and I shot one of the worst matches of my life just because my goal had already been met and I never even thought to reassess my goal. So I saw 3 people post this year because we get like little formal invites in the email, and they said, their post said, I made the finale. This was my goal this year. I put in there, I comment, I said, great, now change your goal to win the finale. And start working towards whatever you think that looks like, however, you feel like you can achieve that. Because if you show up with the goal to make the finale of the top 150 people, then you'll probably finish 145th place because everybody else is showing up to win that finale,
Man, I'm back to Lanny Basham's book when he won the Olympics. He said that was one of the saddest days of his life because then it's like, now what? What I mean?
Man, it's tough. It's very tough. I mean, I think you and I both have had that experience, and you don't want to think lightly or not celebrate the victory either. But all I can think about as soon as that happens, Morgan King, I don't know if you know who that is, but we've had that discussion on the way home from a match. It almost is like by the time you're home from the match, you're already thinking about the next match. The next match has already started, so you don't even let yourself relish in the fact that you just won the match. And it is that most people can't say that they've won a Pro Series PRS match.
So we have on our team, Lapua, we have 7 members on that team, and we have made it. It's not official, but we have made it a point. So it's never been said, hey, we should do this. It's just we've been doing it. Every time one of the members wins, we're all going to dinner that night, and we're celebrating. Like, we forced them. No, when I won, they took me out to dinner. We had drinks. It was great, right? When my buddy David won in Tennessee, we stayed in Nashville and we're going to dinner tonight. We're going to go celebrate your win,
Yep.
And that's that's something that we do, and I think it's amazing because you're forced in a way to celebrate, and you're just forced to let yourself go and just enjoy the moment, even if it's just for dinner, you know. But it's a good time. The theme is celebration when we go out, and it just sets a new tone, man, for how you look at winning.
Yeah, it creates a new memory and a new association with that event that probably will last even longer than the memory of winning the match itself, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the cool things about all these sports is we're friends with all of the competitors, and there's new people coming up thinking that they're going to make it happen, and some of them actually do, and then you get to see that happen, and it's like living through them for the first time when they win a match. It's like, holy cow. I've got a guy I've been building rifles for a couple years now, and he won a match 4 weeks ago, and I saw the standings, and I saw him at the top, and I called him, and all I did was go out, get on the phone, like, woo! You know, I was so happy for him, and I was like, you did it, man. You did something that not a lot of people do, and not a lot of people can say they've done, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, and see now so, you know, I talk about how I shut down my business, but you did the same, right? Like you and I have very similar paths. But now you do gunsmithing full time, right?
Yeah. I get to also have that feeling of satisfaction when somebody does it with one of my barrels, which is
that's where I was going with this. That's where I was going with this. You not only do you have your wins now, but you have your customers that you can win through. You know, it's like, hey, use my stuff.
At first, it was just Francis and I. You know, I wasn't doing it for a lot of other people. It was just Francis and I had that same satisfaction because, you know, Francis, he's a top-level competitor as well. And when he would win a match, it was almost as good as when I had won a match. And we both got to feel that way for each other. And, you know, you get that feeling even more because there's two of you going after it. And now it's a similar feeling. You know, I don't get to see it happen because I'm not intimate with how that person trains and performs and makes it happen, but I can envision it because I know how hard it is, and I can, you know, be that excited for that person, and that's way cool. It's hopefully something that gives me longevity in the sport. Even if I can't keep winning, I will still have that feeling quite often if people are using my stuff and giving me that satisfaction. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not done winning yet, though, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I love it when people do it with my products because I get the same thing, right? I'm not a gunsmith, but they use my tuners, they use my brakes, they use people on the forum that you know, they've been taking knowledge from me and advice and, you know, my process, and they take my process and they go and they try it and they win and they come back, dude, I won. I'm so excited, you know, it's awesome. But there's also that bittersweet moment where they beat you with your own knowledge and you're happy for them, but at the same time you're like, oh, okay. But you know, I've learned to be okay with that too, you know, because I'm if they're better, they're gonna be able to help somebody else, you know, and things of that nature, and just grow the sport. But it's all good stuff, man. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, even when I'm not at matches now, I get texts on Saturday or Sunday, whether it's a 1 day or a match, a 2 day pro match, and people are texting me, dude, I just got a podium finish, or, you know, I just won my regional match, first time ever. Thanks, man. I'm like, okay. Even if I'm not at matches, I'm still there. It's way cool.
It is awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
Dude,
and I see your products everywhere, so it's way cool too.
Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, the finales are coming up. We're sponsoring that. I'm very, you know, I'm very happy and honored to be able to do that. You know, like I said, it started as a goal of simply, okay, we're living a very stressful life, and we're something needs to change, and I'm gonna start a little machine shop here at the house, and to be able to, you know, support the PRS finale and you know, the PRS, the rimfire and the centerfire, you know. So that's I'm very, very happy and very honored to be able to do that, man. Trust me, I'm happy.
Well, I mean, you said it earlier, we are not unique in the fact that our lives are stressful. Everybody's life's stressful, but I endeavor to prove and to show people that it's possible to take a different path, and have the work ethic. Most of the people in this sport, it's so cool. That's why I love it. They are high performing individuals. It's got to be the same way in F class. I mean, it's not cheap to compete in this sport. So if you have the financial means, you probably are successful in life. And hopefully we can inspire other people to, number one, give back and share, as much as we can to grow the sport, but to show that there's like other ways in life to be happy and achieve your goals. It's way cool.
Here's one thing that you mentioned about financial means, and it's true. A lot of people, it costs money to do what we do. However, I have found I've been doing this over a decade. This is very good therapy. Like, yeah. It is, and again, I'm not an expert in any way in that field, but for me, when I'm stressed out or just, I'm telling you, I had a very stressful life, way more than I do now. And I just couldn't wait to go shoot. And once I went shooting, it just reset everything. Like I completely was able to forget about all that stress, go shoot, get on the line. And so to me, that was cheap way to get rid of that stress,
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's so intense when you're on the clock that you can't really nothing else can creep in to your thoughts, and it almost is like a little break, It's cool.
So you had a question at the beginning of the podcast, and
yeah,
let's refresh it and then let's talk about that so we can go on. What was it? The question?
What do you mean? Oh, the question was, what do you do when you feel like you've done everything that you possibly can to achieve your goal and you don't achieve it? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to achieve my 2023 goal. So I was honestly looking for a consultation, like some advice from you.
Well,
but we can have an open discussion.
Yeah, well, we can do this. Or here's what I do, right? It's back to did I do everything that I could have done? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, then I'm okay with the outcome. Now, if there was failure points along the way, then that's also, it's like, well, don't complain about the results you didn't get by the work that you didn't do, right? So if it was a failure on my part, then I rectify that. And then, if it's a feasible goal that I can maybe achieve next year, then I move it to next year, and then I'm going to implement everything that I learned.
Yeah. I think it's a slippery slope, though, to say, did I do everything that I could have done? Because lots of people will be able to say, I didn't do everything I could have done, but it was because of X, Y, Z, other priorities that I put in place. And I guarantee I didn't do everything I could have done to meet this goal. But this is the main reason I went to that match I was telling you about 2 weeks ago. Is because I did not want to have this question you're talking about in the back of my mind. Did I do everything?
Yeah.
I feel like if I didn't go to this match, I would not be able to say yes to that.
But the question was, what if you did everything? That was the question. Okay, so if I did everything I could and I still didn't achieve it, then it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And then, try again. If it's a goal that you can try again, And and again, if you did everything you could, it just wasn't meant to be. Simple as that.
Yep.
So
that'll have to be good enough.
Well, it is. It's if you did everything and it didn't happen, it wasn't meant to be, honestly, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because imagine you have 5 people with the exact same goal. And everybody's doing this. They can't exactly, So it's not. It can't happen for everyone. But if you did everything you could, then you just have to be satisfied that it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, well, maybe you set an unrealistic goal. In my case, it wasn't unrealistic. I can say that it wasn't like a one-person type goal. It was to make it to the World Championship in Open Division, and based on the scoring criteria, I don't think that I will be able to make it unless somebody else can't go for some whatever reason, So, it wasn't like a golden bullet type goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I struggle with that because I try really hard, and in all areas of life. And I think most people could say that. I mean, whatever. I'm not saying that to say that I'm unique or different or better than anyone else. It sometimes can be really hard and frustrating to know that you weren't good enough that time you tried. And I think that, like you said, if there's ability to try again, then that's all you can do.
That's a definitely wasn't meant to be. Let me tell you why. Because once I look at that list of the world championship team, and if you're not on there, I'm going to go, what happened? You know what I mean? It's a surprise to me that if you don't make it, if you're not on there, I will be surprised. You know what I'm saying? So that's a definitely wasn't meant to be, because you're definitely good enough. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I started this podcast by saying you're one of the best PRS shooters in the world, which I honestly believe, because you won enough, right? So the fact that I will be surprised, and I'm an outsider, I get it, but based on what I know from PRS and the results and all that stuff, if you're not on there, I would be surprised, which is in itself, it wasn't meant to be, because you're definitely good enough.
No, I appreciate that. That's why I started saying, no, hold on a second. Let me explain to you.
Well, not only that, right? So on the flip side, it is a testament of how good U.S. shooters are.
It is. It's incredible.
Do you follow pool? Like in any? Okay, so in pool, they have what they call the Moscone Cup. And I think a couple of years ago, Frederick Gorst, he's been on Rogan and all that. He's a world champion. He wasn't on that team. So, that just tells you how strong the competitors are, right? So if you can't make it on that team, that just gives me even that much confidence that Team USA is just going to demolish, because
that's what's going to happen. Sorry everybody else.
Well, it's like if Chad can't make it, holy crap, it's a great team. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't say that for every sport. You know what I mean? Because there's some sports where you go, he's on the team,
Yeah.
And that's okay, But yeah, man. Again, it wasn't meant to be. You'll be on there next time.
Maybe. I'm gonna keep trying.
Well, there
like
you go.
You said.
Yeah, like speaking of world championship, are you gonna have it every year, every two, what is it?
It's every 2 years, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
I'm not done competing yet. I'm only 43 at this point, so.
Oh, dude,
I got time.
We're the same age. Holy crap! I look way worse. So you're winning. You're winning in that aspect. I'm gonna start shaving so people can't tell. Yeah, you're definitely winning in that respect. Anyway.
I didn't say that.
Oh, trust me, I know where I stand. All right, man. This has been great as always, and dude, keep hammering. Keep hammering. Keep sharing that knowledge. I mean, I told you, I listen to your podcast. I do, because you have way more than shooting related content. You have life advice, life goals, life, just stuff that people can apply in life itself and just become a better shooter, better person, just happier people,
Yeah, I love looking inward, and I would encourage people to do that any chance they get. Sometimes it's scary in there, but that's where all the answers are. The best answers for me are inside, and I love trying to get people to think that way. In this sport, in life, the people that are the most successful, they have the drive and they can work to figure it out on their own. If you only retain or only have the knowledge that somebody else gave you, then you'll always be limited by who's giving you information. But if you can work and build on it and take it that next step for yourself, then you're gonna excel.
Yeah, awesome. And you got to take me on your airplane one of these days.
Hey man, I'm gonna probably fly out there in January, February for a match, so we'll do it.
Awesome. My latest goal is to troll the trolls online. To be honest with you, it's so much fun. It's so for if any of the loyal viewers are watching this, that's what I'm doing, because they're going. People are like, why are you acting like a know-it-all all of a sudden? Like I'm doing shorts, and I'm like, I just did one, and I'm like, I was like, I shoot pretty good groups every now and then. And I said, oh, I know, I'll record them. And but so I did a short where I'm shooting at the X-ring at 1,000 yards, right? And I shoot and I hit it. And I'm like, oh, you're not impressed? Here, I'll do it again. Boom. And I hit it again. Oh, you're still not impressed? You think I got lucky? I'll just go for 3. Boom. And I hit it again. I'm like, you're still not happy. I'll do it one more. And I put
Shoot
4
6 just for good measure.
Right. Well, I only had a minute, so I had to shorten it. But no, this is a short that I did, and I put 4 shots in 2.28 inches at 1,000 yards, and it's amazing to watch them. The rest is doing all the work, and you're not doing it. It's amazing, and like they'll get millions of views. So that's my latest pastime, is trolling the trolls. It's fun.
It's inspiring as well to the people that actually care. I mean, it is real. I've been there laying right next to you. There's no editing. It's just shooting. So
yeah,
it
it's
can
fun.
happen.
It's fun.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you very much, and keep hammering, dude. 5x5
right,
precision. Chad Heckler. The
miles to matches.
Dude, you do so much.
Yeah.
And Heckler Aviation Services.
No, I'm just doing that for fun. No.
Yeah. All right, dude. Later. Thank you.
See ya.